On Monday, Leon Valley, Texas City Councilman Josh Stevens filed an initiative for discussion and possible action on the evaluation, duties, and complaints regarding the chief of police. You'll never believe what happened the following day. Police Chief Joe Salvaggio continues to abuse the criminal injustice system to wage war against his political opponents. His latest attack was on City Councilman Josh Stevens, who was charged with felony assault on a police officer. Who was alleged victim officer? Keep watching. I'll have all the incident details and more in this report. Numerous Leon Valley police officers bombarded Josh Stevens' home on Tuesday, just hours before a city council meeting, to arrest him on warrants. One for interfering with the duties of a police officer, a Class B misdemeanor, and another for assault of a police officer, a second-degree felony. Stevens went to the Bexar County Courthouse with his attorney, where he was magistrated before a district judge, and posted bond for both charges. If the Leon police had apprehended him, he would not have been able to quickly appear before the court, and his physical safety would have been an extreme concern. Certainly, Stevens would have been in the county jail instead of at the city council meeting. Likely, Chief Salvaggio intended to embarrass Councilman Stevens even further with a perp walk. That's where the police alert the media to show up at the jail so they can film the arrested individual in cuffs hauled in by the police. It's a humiliating image that would haunt a political career. Indeed, when parties familiar with the situation contacted the San Antonio media outlets on Tuesday afternoon, the establishment reporters were already aware of the charges against Stevens. And KSAT 12 ran an inaccurate smear piece against the councilman. But Salvaggio's plan failed. His fake news buddies were left with only a nice portrait of Stevens. And the councilman arrived at City Hall in time for the city council meeting.
Hello, Leon Valley citizens. This is Councilor Bradshaw, and I'm heading into City Hall. Show you what it's like to go into City Hall for a council meeting. We have a special meeting today. And I'm here with Councilor Stevens.
What up?
So we're going into to City Hall, and we're going for executive session. So we'll see what happens. Here we are, going in.
Even though Stevens outsmarted Salvaggio's attempts to embarrass him and block him from the city council meeting, fighting malicious criminal charges is painful and expensive. I've started a PayPal pool to raise money for Stevens' attorney. The link is in the video description. Those standing up to fight for our rights deserve our support. In November 2019, Josh Stevens organized a recall petition against two councilors who were supportive of Salvaggio. Stevens cited police abuse as a top reason for the petition.
Officer, 193
So you're going to turn your camera off or step outside?
The other officer said it was okay.
We're allowed to, Todd.
The supervisor said.
He's not here.
The other officer?
Joel already told him?
Yep,
No, the other officer.
as long as we leave the opening.
Can y'all not block the entrance, please? Go ahead. So I don't know if you're able to just sign this.
I'd like to be able to hear.
I'll initial off that I've received it.
Okay, cool. That would be good enough.
What are you hearing when you were circulating this petition? What were you hearing from people that signed it?
So there's a lot of concerns from people living in the city related to especially over policing. That affects a lot of people, even those that don't have direct involvement in city matters and politics of Leon Valley. So for an example of that is police officers, the city council has enabled police officers to tow vehicles from a private driveway of somebody, even solely for an expired registration sticker. So that's one example of the over-policing.
The charges stem from a January 7th city council meeting. January 7th, 2020, that is. Yes, over a year ago. Early in the meeting, the recall petitions that Stevens led were certified by the city.
Thank you. Yes.
Josh Stevens in Forest Oaks. I just wanted to say, first of all, on behalf of the hundreds of citizens that did sign and that participated and that walked the blocks and all that, we really do appreciate. We know that there's a lot of work that has to go into verifying those as we tried to verify them for ourselves. But so sincerely, thank you for that.
During the public comment portion at the end of the meeting, Robin Johnson spoke against the city administration abusing public resources by running a politically biased article in the city's newsletter. Then Richard Blackmore spoke. Blackmore is a member of the Citizens Police Advisory Committee and one of the most vocal supporters of Joe Salvaggio.
The bias I read into them. Now, that is my opinion that I read that bias there. But it should not have been in a newsletter published with my tax money. And I would have liked to have had a say.
All right.
All right. Anyone else? Mr. Blackmore.
My name is Blackmore. I'm a taxpayer in Leon Valley. I heard an ex-council member talking about being business friendly. Yeah, business friendly for his relative friends, trying to get zoning codes changed. I just want to say, Mayor, all this could have ended a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I've known you a long time. I've voted for you, just like I have the ex-mayor and 2 ex-council members. You and your team, it's time for you to go. Either you retire or you resign.
Thank you, Mr.
Can't take any more of you
Thank you, Mr.
anymore.
Bradshaw. I mean, Mr. Blackmore.
Yeah.
I don't
Take
believe
them
we're
with you.
Yeah, you know, I don't think we're supposed to go to the podium and put down people, and I really don't appreciate that.
Leslie Bacon, Forest Oaks, Canterfield. I don't understand why other people are being censored here in what they're speaking, but there are certain peoples that support.
Blackmore called Mata and Stevens scum-sucking pigs. A Salvaggio supporter sitting near Mata nodded her head in agreement with Blackmore. You can see the camera shake from Blackmore forcefully leaving the meeting room.
Other people are being censored here in what they're speaking, but there are certain peoples that supports council members here that are allowed to say and call people names and disrespect council members and the mayor, our duly elected representatives here. The city manager should stand up and make sure that all people are treated equal here in this meeting. We are citizens and we deserve that. Shame on you. Shame on you, Ms. Kinsler.
Let's not put people down, please. Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, Mayor.
Oh.
I just have a point of clarification. The presiding officer for this meeting is the mayor. She's the one that calls for order.
And she's being disrespected.
Okay, that's, oh, excuse me, Ms. Bacon, we can't have the outburst in the, just if you'll please keep your comments to yourself. I appreciate that. But, yes.
Josh Stevens, Forest Oaks. So that was actually really interesting, the whole interaction that just occurred, but that puts the mayor in a very difficult position. I mean, if you're able to empathize at all, obviously when you're being, have comments spewing at you like that, it's a difficult thing for her to react to because she can't really shut down a person, or can she? Anyway, I just want to remind all of the elected members that that the people that are out here and giving critique and criticism and saying comments like though you may not like some of the things we say or the ideas we propose or the questions we ask, we are your constituents still. And I would hope that as elected officials, that you just remember that, and remember that, some city staff isn't an elected official, but you are, and you're elected by the people, for the people. You should be representing them. So I just hope that things can kind of shift to where we have elected officials that actually are for the people in the community instead of for other reasons.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Well, this is pretty early for us. 8:30. So if there's no opposition or if y'all want to stay, fine. But we will move to adjourn without objection at 8:30 on January the 7th, and the next meeting is January 20th.
That's where the video abruptly cuts off. The Leon Valley staff keeps so many secrets. Unfortunately, they refused to release any video of what happened next. The city provided Stevens with only 2 pages of a redacted police report. The victim? The victim is Police Chief Joe Salvaggio. Yes, that's right. The chief is again crying about being a victim in order to attack a political opponent. The report is a joke. This is not transparent government. Although the city illegally withheld basic information, the Texas Attorney General allowed the city to cover up the rest of the reports and videos. In Texas, the government code allows the police to keep almost all information about their activities secret, including evidence of their government crimes. Information is used as a political weapon. It's selectively released to advance the political position of the police. It's not about justice. Even though Leon Valley eventually produced this 2-page document, they illegally delayed its release. The request was filed on January 13th, and it was not released until March 2nd. Also, they provided a different document than what they submitted to the Attorney General for review. Yet another violation of law. So what happened after the January 7th, 2020 City Council meeting? Eric Mata had this to say. What happened when Mr. Blackmore was done speaking?
From what I remember, he walks out, as you're looking at the dais at the council, he walks out to our left side, going out to the foyer. I don't know if he actually went outside. I don't remember, but he went out to the foyer, leaves council chambers, cussing under his breath, basically, calling us scum-sucking pigs. He had some other things to say, and I do remember him slamming the door. So anyways, at that moment, I look over to this woman sitting along the wall, and she's shaking her head, yes, in affirmation of what Blackmore had called me or called us. And so I just kind of mouthed to her, under my breath, "You're okay with that?" And kind of left it at that, because I think there was one person still speaking for citizens to be heard, and then the meeting was gavelled. So it couldn't have been more than a minute or two before the meeting was gavelled, and it came to an end. When we got up, the woman was basically right there in front of me. So I said, that's not okay. That's the incivility that's tearing this community apart. And she said something to the effect "Well, you're getting what you deserve." And I can't remember how I responded to her. I wasn't shouting. It wasn't anything ugly. And all of a sudden she says, "Back off," really loud, just blew it wide open for everyone to hear. And at that moment, everyone's congregated over at that corner to leave the chambers, probably 15 to 20 people. And Salvaggio shouts from near the dais, where the council is seated, "Mata, you're scaring that woman," really loud. And he starts coming towards the crowd that's gathered, there to leave the chambers, pretty quickly, And I got pissed off, and I said, "How dare you mischaracterize what's going on here?" And so before you know it, he's trying to get at me. And Josh is right next to me. Josh Stevens is right next to me, and he runs into Josh. And I'm looking at Josh, and Josh is kind of jolted. And there's really nowhere for Josh or any of us to go. We're all like sardines packed into that corner, leaving the chambers. So, so all I remember was, Salvaggio saying, "Mr. Stevens, you're impeding my ability to get to move," and so yeah, that's what I remember from that incident, and I was fired up because I felt like he was trying to characterize, whatever was going on between me and this woman, which was just a simple conversation with no shouting, until that woman just, went off. Tried to characterize it as though I was somehow trying to abuse her or threaten her. And that's not what happened.
Did you see Josh Stevens assault Joe Salvaggio?
Oh, absolutely not. He did nothing. I mean, Joe ran into his back.
So
what could Josh have done?
Did Joe Salvaggio assault Josh Stevens?
Well, one thing I know, I might not characterize what he did, but say what I saw was Joe running into Josh's back. So if that's an assault, then I would say he did. I mean, if I was Josh and I felt, the presence of a big person running into me, yeah, I would feel like that was assault.
Government corruption at its finest. The police do something and then blame the public for it. It seems Salvaggio wanted to utilize an opportunity to try to discredit Mata, but instead he was able to use the situation to entrap Stevens. The truth is that Joe Salvaggio assaulted Josh Stevens. Josh made his own report, which he submitted to police agencies. I guess he still believed that the police were honorable and just. He explained that everyone was packed at the door to exit the room when he felt someone shove him from behind and contact to the back of his left shoulder and tried to push him forward to the right. He didn't know exactly what was going on, but all of a sudden noticed Chief Salvaggio's voice as he stated, "Oh yeah, Mr. Stevens, you're not going to elbow me like that." Stevens was startled because he didn't know Salvaggio was coming up from behind him, and he didn't elbow or physically initiate contact with anybody. He felt contact at his shoulder again and simultaneously felt Chief Joe's abdomen hit his lower back and also a hard knee or something similar slam into the back of his upper left leg. Stevens said it felt almost as if Salvaggio was trying to make him go down to the ground. Stevens then went outside. He wasn't arrested. He wasn't questioned by the police. Stevens allegedly committed a second-degree felony at City Hall on view of the police, and he wasn't arrested. He allegedly assaulted a police officer, and he was not arrested. If someone actually committed such a serious offense, why would he not be arrested immediately? We've seen this tactic by Chief Salvaggio before. In fact, it's what sparked so much interest in Leon Valley. Leon Valley police alleged that Jack Miller was committing a felony at City Hall in May of 2018. Yet, they didn't arrest him on view. Miller was at City Hall for a long time and talked to multiple officers about a complaint he was filing. Why didn't they arrest him then? Well, arresting him at City Hall wouldn't have provided police with an opportunity to no-knock raid his family and seize all of his videos and computer equipment. Salvaggio used an alleged weapons offense to take Texas sheepdogs' unpublished videos and video equipment, which he still refuses to return.
Police search warrant! Get out! Get out! Get out! Get on the ground now! Everybody down! Get out!
Somebody on him! Somebody on him! Somebody on him!
Get on him! Cover! Move! Room left! Clear!
Coming on you! On you! On you!
Clear!
Why was Stevens just now arrested over a year later and mere hours before a city council meeting? Here's the timeline that I was able to put together. The day after the incident, Stevens sent a written statement to the Texas Rangers and tried to file a complaint. The Texas DPS Rangers refused to take his report and instead referred him to the city council. He then contacted Leon Valley Police to take a report of a complaint against Salvaggio. Instead of doing that, they came over to Stevens' house to interview him as a suspect. Bradshaw and Mata were at the house too, but the police refused to talk around the witnesses. Bad cops use those dirty tactics to attack the public and operate in the dark. On February 4th, 2020, Salvaggio was promoted to interim city manager. It was the meeting where extra good citizen was arrested on view for allegedly assaulting a police officer on his way into the city council meeting.
Sorry, I didn't know if there was another meeting.
No, that's all right. Thanks. Sir, we're not open
What
yet.
the? No.
Get out of the way.
How come you're letting that media in but not me? Get your...
You guys get more stupid and stupid.
Stevens was at the meeting and spoke to a local television station.
This despite a cabal of locals who say Councilor hasn't fixed anything, just caused more problems.
The only thing I concern myself with are the facts and the truth and the numbers that we see here in City Hall, and they don't lie.
Josh Stevens with the Change Leon Valley project cited different reasons why Councilor needs to go.
Our city manager seems to not prioritize the needs and will of what the citizens want, and instead of focusing on what the citizens want and that driving the decision-making process in the city, she is doing what she wants.
On February 11th, a few days after the interview critical of the Councilor Salvaggio administration, the Leon Valley Police filed the charges. Also that same week, Stevens filed to run for city council. After that, nothing happened for months. Then, in late September, during campaign season, and just a couple of weeks before early voting, the charges started moving again. But the warrants weren't issued in time for the election. On December 21st, 2020, Blackmore had this to say.
Richard Blackmore, Leon Valley. I want to send out a Merry Christmas to Chief Salvaggio, Kelly Councilor, the best city manager this city's ever had. And all the staff here at Leon Valley, a very Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. Mr. Orozco, Mr. Hefner, I want to wish y'all Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you and your families. The other four of y'all, I just hope you get a big bag of coal. Maybe a brand new pair of silver bracelets this next year. God bless America. God bless Texas. And God help Leon Valley.
Okay, thank you.
A week later, a judge issued a warrant for the misdemeanor interfering charge. Even with the outstanding warrant, the Leon Valley Police did not arrest Stevens. Last June, Leon Valley Police arrested Olin Yarnell at a city council meeting for allegedly assaulting a city councilor at a council meeting over a year prior to his arrest. Just like with Stevens, Salvaggio's establishment crafted an incident at a council meeting to later use to attack a political opponent.
What are they arresting him for? For what? For assault of who?
It doesn't say that, but it is a warrant issued by Tyrant County.
Well, don't have to have a record of who I assaulted?
The report is on file with the district attorney.
Is this a setup?
Just got it back here.
Is this a setup, Chief?
What?
Assistant Chief, is this a setup?
No, there's a warrant.
Really?
See it?
So you guys choose
Okay.
you guys choose a council meeting to do this? To an upstanding citizen of this town? Unbelievable. Unbelievable, Chief of Police. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Salvaggio defended the late night arrest, claiming that the police must arrest someone with a warrant when they see them.
But why was he arrested at the council chambers instead of either delivering a warrant to his home or by a letter saying he could turn himself in? This is not a policy question, but we're going to answer it. The arrestee was not arrested in council chambers, was not arrested during a city council meeting. He was arrested outside the council chambers and after a city council meeting. Why was he arrested? Because he had an active warrant for alleged criminal behavior. We intentionally waited until the meeting was over and he was about to leave. At that time of the lawful arrest, there was only a few city council members present and 4 members of the Change Leon Valley Project, 2 of which are the only ones who videotaped the arrest. Would it have changed anything if we'd arrested him at his house? Would it not have been equally embarrassing to him and his family if he was let out of his home for a crime? Now let me explain the legality of when and how an arrest is served, which is also rooted in Texas law. As such, arrest was not effected until he was taken into custody and placed in handcuffs, which we're compelled to do by state law. We didn't know about this warrant until a week or so before the council meeting. We made a conscious decision not to pick him up, as we did not want to put him at risk of catching COVID. But by law, as long as he's not in our present review, we aren't compelled to arrest him. We hoped he would turn himself in or not come into a meeting and force the arrest. But unfortunately for both of us, we did. We do care about that much about our residents. As I've repeatedly advised, both verbally and in writing over the last 4 years, we can't do things based on the individual. It has to be based on the law and the processes we are given by the courts. We have no choice in the matter.
Josh Stevens attended multiple city council meetings since the warrant was issued, but police didn't arrest him. That's because police officers have discretion on whether to arrest someone on a warrant. Salvaggio lied and lied and lied about the circumstances surrounding Yarnell's arrest. On February 3rd, the grand jury issued an indictment for the felony assault on a police chief. Yet the police didn't go to Stevens' house to arrest him that week. Instead, they waited until mere hours before the Tuesday city council meeting to attempt the arrest. Why then? Salvaggio's employment status is up for consideration at Thursday's city council meeting. As I reported recently, Salvaggio wants to leave Leon Valley, but first he wants a big payout from the city. However, the day before the arrest, Stevens sponsored an agenda item aimed at firing Salvaggio for next Tuesday's meeting. Salvaggio appears desperate for an undeserved payday. But would a police chief actually arrest a man in order to score a big payout? That certainly sounds illegal to me. But perhaps the local government club members can get away with anything they want. If you disagree with Salvaggio's tactics, please make your voice heard to the city council. Write in, or even better, speak at the meetings. And please share this video to show others the truth about city police departments. Most importantly, please join me in donating to Josh's criminal defense. I created a PayPal pool, and I hope we can raise $4,000 to help with the expenses. I already sent $1,000. These bogus charges stem from when Josh was leading a citizen initiative to replace tyrannical government officials. And if we want to see more people step up to create change, we must have their backs when the government establishment retaliates. The link to the donation pool is in the video description below. Please consider helping with $10, $50, or more if you are able. If you would like to contribute $400 or more, please email or call me and I will provide the information so you can send the money directly to the law firm. Unfortunately, Salvaggio's anti-camera oppression stifled the Leon Valley residents from recording at the city council meeting. But now everyone is wearing a CamPro body camera like this one. A link to purchase your own is in the video description. If everyone starts recording all interactions with the government and the police, the government lies will not be able to survive. You owe it to yourself and to your country to always record government. If you are outraged by Chief Salvaggio's corruption, please show Josh Stevens your support. The government isn't going to hold itself accountable, but if you and I take action to end government corruption, we will create real change.